bother.
You never are quiet. You just do what you want to do when we go live.
Countdowns are for frightened people.
Every other game, I'm like, all right, stand by. Transition coming up in 3, 2, 1. With you guys, I'm just like, they're not listening.
Yeah.
They're not listening. Hey, internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers. And we are returning after, I don't even remember. It's been 2 or 3 weeks since the last time we were here with you. Sometimes we don't even realize we need a break until situations and circumstances force us to take a break. But nonetheless, we are back. And tonight's episode, I'm going to be honest with you, it's called Snow Business because I didn't know what to call it. I don't know what these folks are going to do. It may change for the VOD, so we'll see. But it is episode 34 of season 5, Dawnbringers Rime of the Frostmaiden. And in just a moment, we are going to get to the recap and bring everybody up to date, including Ted, who dropped off for like the last 15 minutes of the last game and missed a couple of very important pieces of information. But we'll get that going. We are just getting started, and we've already had a hype train in the chat, so thank you all for that. That means that I owe... whoops. What did I hit? Okay, there we go. I owe you 5 domain dice, it looks like, bringing your total up to 145. Now, if you're sitting there in the chat and you're wondering, what the heck are domain dice? Well, look up above Dan and V up in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see all those little blue dice and the plus 140. That is your way to influence the game simply by cheering 500 bits, tipping $5, subscribing, resubscribing, raids, all of that stuff, which 5 of you have done. There's been gift subs and resubs and even a raid from Big Bearded Nerd. Thank you for that. Have all contributed. And these domain dice, of course, are ways that the players get to reroll, force me to reroll. They can do a few other things with them up to and including the super critical, the automatic double max damage that happens when they use 5 domain dice. I almost call them tomes again. So yeah, that's your way to contribute. Jeremy's once again showing off the ham on his goodies. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Ted is also sporting an MTDT. You can get some of those shirts, those exact shirts that you see these fine folks wearing, not by that thing that I just typed in the chat. That is a hashtag. You can use hashtag merch if you want, but follow that link. You can check out our store. We got lots of cool shirts. There's even a Cantriel I've been a mancer of many things shirt available in there. I should say design, because you can get them on a lot of these designs on shirts and masks and other things, but check it out. Let's see, we got a couple other quick announcements before we get into this. You know what, I'm gonna start with this one because this one's a fun one. This is the first time we're announcing it. We'll announce it on social media as well. It has been an absolute joy having Goblin Katie with us over the summer while Em was gone. We, as always, miss players when they have to be gone. Em was gone doing real world adventuring, and Goblin Katie came in and did such a fine job that we invited her to stay on with the Dawnbringers. So after season 5, as we go into season 6, Goblin Katie will be with us as a regular member of this game. So we are so excited to have you stay on with us, Katie. And I do want to say a quick shout out to our sponsors. First up is Talon and Claw. They have some amazing... I don't know why I'm bothering typing. Jeremy's already on top of it. Talon and Claw are makers of incredible wooden dice accessories, such as these fine vaults And I'm going to take just a moment to point out this aromatic cedar extra large vault from my good friend Goblin Katie. I cannot stop smelling this cedar. This vault smells so good. Katie's got a handful of vaults as well. You can follow that link to Talon and Claw. Use code MTDClaw at checkout and get yourself some of these. These are amazing vaults. I love mine. And I have a DM screen that I almost broke my foot last time I tried to hold it up in front of the screen and then set it back down. I'm not going to do that. But head over there, check out their awesome stuff. Get something for yourself. Also, our good friend Keel over at Run Right Play is also one of our sponsors. See, Jeremy, I held back, and I know you're sitting there going, wait, I don't know what that one is. Keel has an amazing community of collaboration. Check out his Patreon over at Run Right Play. And you can become a member of that community and get access to the digital and physical zine that he puts out every month. So check that out as well. The last thing that I want to talk about, of course, is the ever important, we talk about this every time, the importance of mental health. We talked a little longer, or a little bit more in depth on Monday, because this past Sunday was World Mental Health Awareness Day. A lot of people highlighting a lot of great organizations and things like that. And we're trying to do our part as well to destigmatize conversations around mental health. I've been very honest about my own struggles with anxiety and depression, and the fact that the best decision I made was 2 years ago was to finally reach out and look for help, and found a counselor that works for me. I talk to her on a regular basis, and it has been incredible what it's done for me for my mental health. And so the best thing you can do if you want to do something similar is to use the !help that Jeremy just put in the chat, and you'll see a link there for findahelpline.com. I want you to go there, bookmark it, save it for yourself, save it for a friend. It is a wonderful resource, regardless of what kind of help you need. Please do not hesitate to use that. I'm going to do a recap here in just a moment, because it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. What just happened reminded me that I forgot to mention that there are some gremlins in a couple of people's computers. We might have a little bit of scrambling happen from time to time. We might have players get switched around, and then you end up watching me behind the scenes trying to shuffle everybody back where they belong. Oh, that was easier than I thought. But we'll just roll with it. No big deal. It happens. All right. Oh, for a second, I thought you were frozen for real.
I think Katie has a hand on her face, though. Oh, it went away.
Oh, that's what it was. I didn't realize you could see that.
I was trying to mime.
It's my tiny high five. It's a tiny high five. I want to high five all my players before we get going. But they don't recognize it, so I can't high five them. That was you, Jeremy. Anyway. All right. It's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. Some Dawnbringers. Some Dan Droppers.
Some Dan Droppers. Dungeons and Dan Dropper. Ooh, that sounds.
You know
bad.
what? I'm gonna do a disclaimer here and just say, this episode, the players are going to be in the wrong windows. With this happening, I'm not going to be able to keep up with moving you all around. If I can, I will. But if you're in the wrong window, you're in the wrong. We know who you are. Anyway,
unless you're Talmud or Thorgarn.
Yeah. Well,
then that's just
that
fine.
means it's now between the two of you. Oh crap!
Thorgarn.
Now I gotta move the windows because I'm gonna mess that up all over the place.
I think we should just do it like musical chairs, where you have to play whatever character's window you're in.
Oh yeah.
That would be fun.
Oh,
I think
geez.
we have another dropped Dan.
It's
again.
another.
Hasn't moved in a minute.
Are you there with audio, Dan?
No.
It's okay. I can play
I mean,
drown.
Dan's pretty laconic, but he's just not moving at all now.
Yeah, drown tends to be few for words. So.
I'm playing him.
See, I said I was going to stop not move the windows, and then I moved the
Now
windows.
you can't move the windows, and they
So I'm not going to move because as soon as I moved them, Dan dropped. So
See?
all right,
Now whose fault is it?
It's okay.
it's fine.
It's the
All right.
gremlins.
The
Here we go.
gremlins.
This is for
Gremlins
real.
did it.
For real. We're going to start playing.
Okay.
All right. The Dawnbringers have, of course, most recently successfully managed to eliminate the Frostmaiden and their one-time ally turned major foe, Vi, who later became Vi the Corrupted, then sort of joined forces with Ariel. The Dawnbringers named her Viral, and they took him out. Ended the everlasting Rime, ended the hold over, the whole of the region, and the weather is beginning to return to normal. They were able to make it via teleportation back to Lonely Wood, their home base, where they joined in celebrations with the locals. They had a few conversations with some people, including in particular Talmud talking with Yesha, who has intended to or stated that she is going to be staying in Lonely Wood, calling it a home, and will be managing the I don't know if you guys did you come up with a new name for it yet? They were calling it the Ramshackle Inn was the name of the place that you had inherited. But you own it now, and Yesha is looking after it. It's been mostly refurbished and is continuing to be fixed up. But it is an inn and a home and a tavern that you own. Also, Cantriel and Victor had a conversation, and Cantriel talked to Victor, the first mate of the Evangeline, and also the one-time spectator turned beholder, especially noted for the fact that his eye stalks are actually baby gazers that float around him and orbit him. They are his gazer children. Cantriel ordered Victor to stay and guard the town of Lonely Wood, which, as part of his spectator nature, that is an order that will keep him here on diligent duty for 101 years, guarding this town. They settled in for rest, and Cantriel and Drown once again reached out to Madame Thala, one of the one-time refugees that they rescued in Saltmarsh, that joined them as a cook on the Evangeline as they sailed back across the Sea of Stars. Contacted her via the dream spell and found that Madame Thala was taking care of an unconscious Spring Eladrin, who turned out was the physical manifestation of the Evangeline itself, or herself, the countenance resembling the figurehead of the ship. And Cantriel learned that the Evangeline is a living, sentient ship, and that when the ship was broken in two, the Evangeline used her magic to send the surviving crew into the Feywild to save their lives. and use her magic to hold back the cold, hold back the hunger, and keep Madame Thala alive while she is sort of stuck in between these two planes of existence, with her spirit being gone in the Feywild as well. Madame Thala telling Cantriel, trying to give her a ticket to some kind of carnival, but she couldn't take it with her when she awoke. And when we left off, Cantriel had awoken in the middle of the night, had spoken to Drown, told her what she knew. And as they settled back down into sleep, we cut to one final third-person scene back during the battle with Vi and Auriel, when Auriel's rock captured in its claws their friend Baron and dragged him over the edge, never to be seen again. We saw the form of Baron falling 1,000 feet down from the sky, calmly pulling canaries out of his pockets, throwing them into the air, and one of them transforming into a golden dragon that gripped him in his claws and gently set him down in the snow. And as he looked at the dragon and the canaries, he looked up at the battle in the sky, and he said, well, it looks like they're going to have to finish this one on their own. But I have a feeling I'll be seeing them again soon. And tucking his canaries back into his pockets, he disappeared, walking across the snowy tundra. And that was where we left off. So now we are going to pick back up in the town of Lonelywood, all the way on the northeastern part of 10 towns, where the Dawnbringers are awakening to the sound of laughing children, the fresh smells of breakfast foods, and even more strawberry tarts being prepared, as Nimsy Huddle, the town speaker, has apparently taken over the kitchen at the Ramshackle Inn, where the Dawnbringers are all awakening. Dawnbringers, what do you want to do on this new day when, for the first time in a long time for all of you, you are awakened not only by these smells, but by the gentle morning sunlight falling through a window as you lie in beds?
Rolo will kind of closer towards Cantriel's head. She's kind of like laying on the top of Cantriel's head, sort of like, you know how cats will lay on the top of your head while you're trying to sleep. Not like smothering her, but on the top of her head. And she'll kind of squidgle in a little more, and then and she perks up, and her hands like kind of press down on Cantriel's forehead as she leans forward. Rolo smell waffles!
Cantriel smells kobold.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. I'm not a morning person, though.
Oh, duly noted. Rolo will make sure in the future to simply snuggle and avoid notice of waffles.
I can deal with that.
Okay. But in the meantime, waffles?
Tell you what, save me a seat and I'll be down in a few minutes.
Okay.
And Rolo will kind of bound from bed to bed and pounce on everybody in some form, either their chest or their ankle or somewhere on their person, going,
Waffles! Waffles downstairs! Waffles!
And then scamper out of the room.
So Thorgarn is absolutely a morning person, very much a creature of habit. He's probably been up for a little while, and he's got his stuff collected, not sure exactly what the day is going to bring, and for whatever reason, possibly because Ted missed some of the last session, he feels a little out of it this morning, but trying to get back to routine helps him out. So he's doing his typical meditation and prayers as Rolo kind of runs around, and I guess he finishes his prayers a little bit early, and he gets up and follows Rolo down to breakfast.
I imagine that Fig is already in the kitchen with a notebook, with Nimsy just kind of looking over her shoulder every so often. And how do you know to put that much spices in there? And how do you know when the batter is done? And like writing notes as Nimsy responds.
Nimsy would absolutely be just sort of moving around you. And there's probably a little bit of a cloud of flour in the air, and you've probably managed to get a couple streaks of maybe some like berry filling for the tarts and syrup and other things as you're in there. I picture Hermes is also in here wearing an apron that Nimsy Huddle has tied around him and eagerly wanting to move around, but has been told to stay in place holding a platter until Nimsy fills it, and then Hermes just runs out and sets the table with the new food as she just keeps answering your questions, and then finally says, right, as I told you, Fig, the art of baking, it's sort of like, well, you're a wizard. And sometimes you deal with components of spells. And you know when to put this and that in, and you know what the effect will be. Cooking is like a sort of wizardry. You've got to know how much of a thing to put in, how much of this, how much of that, what flavors work good together. It's very close to alchemy, I'm told. And, like a good alchemist, I'm not going to tell you my exact secrets, because then you'd be able to make Nimsy Huddle's cookies or Nimsy Huddle's strawberry tarts, and then what would Nimsy Huddle do? But just know that it's my own form of wizardry. And knowing you won't eat one, Nimsy just takes one of these famous halfling cookies and just places it on your journal where you're taking notes. And it's just this really nice looking halfling shaped cookie that's been iced to have like a smile and a little jacket and trousers and whatnot.
Fig kind of picks it up. He reaches into his hat and pulls out like a little like a flask or some like and like puts the cookie into his flask and then tucks it back away in his hat. I will keep this for further research. I will learn how to cook and become the greatest wizard of everything.
And Nimsy's already sort of focusing on the last finishing touches and just kind of gives you, though I don't know that Fig necessarily picks up on this, but it's very much a motherly sort of, oh, that's nice, dear. I'm sure you'll make the wonderful wizard of everything. Here, take this tray along with you, Hermes, out to the sitting area and just goes about her business.
Drown, having been up before dawn, a decent bit before dawn. In fact, most of the travel, at least in recent memory, there really hasn't been dawn. So that was Drown's habit from way back. He was always up well before sunrise. So he is probably coming back from the lake where he's broken a hole in the ice and went for a morning swim.
As he's coming in through the door, Rolo is scampering down the hall, and she just like bounds up onto his chest and like clings to his chest. Waffles! And then bounces down and goes running into the mess hall.
So Drown is probably in basically like pants, boots, and nothing else. Doesn't even really have, didn't bother bringing a towel or anything like that. So he's got kind of like rivulets of ice sort of just crusted around him, and you just kind of jump onto his chest, and those tentacle tattoos cover his entire body. Just all over, shoulders, chest, stomach, sides, back, everywhere. And he just kind of looks down and says, waffles, good. And then
I think in a study of opposites from Thorgarn, Talmud is not ever early to rise unless somebody forces him out of bed. Especially, if I recall correctly, we've been drinking the night before. So Talmud kind of stumbles out of the place where he's been sleeping, likewise, just wearing trousers, and kind of like rubs at his eyes kind of sleepily as he stumbles towards the door and wanders outside to find a tree to, make his morning business before he kind of comes back in. Something smells absolutely wonderful. What are we eating?
Waffles!
Waffles. All right.
Talmud, as you say this, what are we eating? Here comes Hermes with a tray of or strawberry tarts.
I'm nabbing one.
Yep.
I have advantage on my dexterity saving throws. So.
You successfully nab. I think you've nabbed enough of these. You are now proficient in tart nabbing.
He flies into a pastry rage to get advantage on his grapple check to snatch one. Yeah.
Would that make Talmud the Knave of Hearts?
I mean, he certainly could be.
The as you come in from you're taking care of your morning business, Yesha just kind of, you grab this tart and Yesha grabs your other arm and sort of pivots you around and says, I know you're used to being out in the wilderness adventuring, but we have privies here. You don't need to let everybody see your business, nor do you need to be out watering the trees.
Well, all right. Sorry about that.
You do know what a privy is, yes?
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. She continues pulling you and leads you to a room and shows you the small room with the comfortable seat and the hole in the board and paper, and there's a couple of stacks of parchment, the Lonely Wood Times and things like that in there. And this,
now I'm supposed to do what with this?
You know what? She pats you on the back. I think you can figure it out. And she walks away. Eventually, everybody is seated around the table, and you are all able to enjoy a very hearty breakfast. If you haven't done so already, everybody should have done this, but if you haven't done so already, take your long rest, because you absolutely did get a long rest. So just in case you have anything that wasn't reset. As everybody's digging in and or doing whatever they're gonna do, there's the usual foods and drink and whatnot. Nimsy kind of looks around at everybody and I think Nimsy would sort of look at Cantriel, having picked up on that Cantriel seems to, if not completely in name, definitely seems to sort of be the leader of this group in some respect, if only because of the name Captain preceding. And Nimsy just sort of looks over at you, sipping at her tea. So, Cantriel, have you given any thought to what you and your friends are going to do next?
Well, good news is Victor's going to be sticking around for quite a while.
I've heard Victor was very proud to tell me that he had been appointed as guardian of the city, and as I understand it, that's... Well, thank you. Thank you for lending us Victor. I do truly believe we will be safe in his eyes? He will keep a watchful eye over us.
His watch. You'll be safe in his
Yes.
watch. That's a good way to put it.
And she just gives kind of a little tittering giggle at the little joke the two of you attempted to make.
As for well, the rest of us, I think, and she'll look around and kind of take in everyone actually having a nice, lovely breakfast meal after a good night's rest. And well, Dawnbringers' work is never exactly done, but it's good to see everyone recuperating. But if you're looking to see if we're setting down roots, I don't think yes is the answer.
Do you have other business here in Icewind Dale or elsewhere?
Yes, we have other shipmates that we need to find. See what the state might be of their conditions.
Word has reached me through the other town speakers that outside of Bremen, not a 10 day or so ago, the great white worm, Arviatris, was seen lying dead in the snow. I can only assume you had something to do with that.
Oh, that might have our signature on the side, sure.
Well,
That was before it up and walked away, though.
Now there's that.
but I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
I was going to tell you a little bit more tactfully,
Sorry.
and she'll shoot him a look. Part of our plans is to find out what happened. We went to check out the, I guess you would call it a grave site, only to find that the site was less grave and more empty site. Not with your mouth full, Rolo. Chew first, then speak.
Does that mean we got killed again?
Hopefully.
Oh, Rollo excited. Oh, Fig. Rollo understand you're a wizard too.
That is correct.
Rollo has spell book with bunch of spells. If you don't have any, you can copy from Rollo.
You see Fig just kind of like look down at the book, look back up at you, down, back, down. And just like very, with the utmost like care and reverence, just like take this book and open it up and begin to look through it. Like, very, very quickly, before nodding. Some of these are fantastic that I do not have. And then you see Fig, he like extends his torso up, like until you can see like there's like a little, like almost like a little shelf where he keeps this very large book, and he kind of gives it to you, and it like thump like on the ground right in front of you. This is my creator's book. I cannot read some of the spells, but I've highlighted the ones that I have translated.
As Fig was flipping through the book, all of the spells inside it are written in crayon, and they all have like little drawings on them of stick people under the effects of the different spells. Thank you for that, Jeremy.
That's fantastic. So, you've dealt with Arviatris, the dragon, but you might still have to deal with her. That's going to be very dangerous. But I can't imagine it being much more dangerous than what you've already faced. Or at least on the same level. You seem to be very capable, but is this something you think you have to rush off and deal with immediately?
Was there something else that you...
No, I'm not implying that that we need any kind of help. I just worry about you, that's all. It seems from the stories you told us when you first arrived, and since you've been here, you're always on the go, running from one thing to the next. And I see it even now, from when we first met until now, looking at everyone sitting around here. I see the relaxation, I see the smiles, but I see the pain, the loss and the tiredness, the weariness behind your eyes.
I doubt the world is ever going to run out of problems or run out of the need for those willing to step into danger to help out those in need. But we believe that the crew members of our vessel, if they're still alive, we want to make sure they stay alive, especially because they're in this spot because of us.
Now, point of clarification, as DM here. Cantriel, I don't believe you told anyone but Drown about what happened last night.
She hasn't yet.
Okay.
Nope, she has not. She was actually purposely trying to kind of keep the morning a little less harried.
Okay. Well, Thorgarn, I can understand that and appreciate your desire to help your friends. And I do believe that you will do everything you can to rescue them, make sure they're safe. But the world, well, I think the world can wait a day or two. If you think you can spare the time, rest. Spend at least a day to gather your wits about you. Make a solid plan before you head off into the wilderness.
Rest is something that I'm not all that great at.
Mimsy's right. We've been going full throttle for too long. What we have to do a day or two is not going to be greatly affected by.
No.
You're shaving off one end of the rope to attach to the other at this rate.
I, of course, care about all of you. And as always, Cantriel, I at least consider you our de facto leader. And you say, we can wait. We can wait.
It makes sense that Cantriel would be de facto leader because she's touched by dragons.
No.
Yes!
Mm.
I can sense it.
I'm not going to tell everyone what they have to do. But what I am seeing, what would be best for all of us, would be to take a little bit of time.
Good leaders do not have to tell people what they have to do. They make suggestions, and because their wisdom and counsel is valued, they are listened to.
I just sing the songs, and she'll kind of like grab a waffle and take her tea, and she'll sort of walk herself back into Mimsy's kitchen to sort of, she's looking for something that may not be on the table, but it's more, she's at the point, she's like, even though she's used to being up on stage and like this, she's not used to this, like, you're the leader, you're the one who knows what to do. She's very much like nope, this is enough, I'm good, I'll talk with you later. Without saying so much.
I think Talmud is probably like looking at, the tarts and the huddled children kind of running around, off on the side. And he looks at Yesha and then he says, I think I could stay put for a while. It'd be fine with me.
Fig give Rolo so many new spells to copy. Rolo happy to stay here.
I don't think Fig even says anything. It's just like copying over these spells and like looking, trying to like scratch maybe at like a stain or something on Rolo's spell book.
It is stained. There are food splotches in it. Like it is clearly a very used but not well cared for spell book.
And in contrast,
insect.
In contrast, Copernicus spellbook that Fig gave you is like this massive leather tome with neatly written runic handwriting and intricately detailed descriptions of spells. And I imagine, yeah, I think that Fig, you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that within 2 minutes of giving Rolo this book, there are pages that are already sticking together from syrup.
Yep.
And you will probably find a piece of
pizza splotch on it.
You'll find a piece of bacon in the page. You have a 5% chance of finding a piece of bacon tucked between the pages. At
one
any
point,
future
Rolo
point.
like drops a chunk of waffle on it and just slurps it off the book and like licks the page.
It's okay, I got it.
It's a good thing it's magical ink and paper, or you might have just erased a spell. There goes that 9th level obliteration spell.
Fig is like looking at the book and is like reading it like different ways. And he looks to Rolo. Does this word here say toes or instant death?
That one says toes of instant death. Push together, sorry. I was in a hurry.
I want to know what Toes of Instant Death is now.
It's under Misty Step.
I thought that was a spell that you were in the process of creating.
No, that's Syrup Feet.
Syrup Feet, okay.
It's going in Fig's book. In crayon.
I think a moment later, or a few moments after Cantriel disappears into the kitchen, Cantriel, where you've set your teacup down on the counter, you just hear the sound of pouring, and Nimsy is silently walked in and it's just refilling your cup with more tea. And she takes her own teacup and she moves into a corner of the kitchen where there's a little step stool she climbs up on and takes a seat on. You seem to wear the mantle of leader a little reluctantly.
It's not exactly one I intentionally donned.
I've heard some of them, Victor, mostly, refer to you as captain. And I see how the others turn to you whenever there's a question of what we should do next, or what should happen, or what's going on, who's in charge. Everybody looks at you. Does it make you uncomfortable to be a leader?
It worries me that they've hitched their horse to the wrong cart sometimes. Bad track record of keeping people close.
Well, from my perspective, and if you'll accept the words of an old halfling woman, That bunch out there, not only are they the same group of people that I saw you leave here with, you've gained an extra one in that little dragon with the wings. She barely leaves your side. I don't think it's any accident that they turned to you as a leader. It doesn't look like you are a person that lords your authority over them. You'll just, well, as I see it, you seem to be somebody that is like a buoy at sea in the storm, a lighthouse, a beacon, something that they can listen for or look for when all else seems lost. And I've heard the tales you've told. Well, a fraction of them. But when you first got here, and we talked of our Beatrice and what brought you here, I could tell there was something different about all of you. And something about you and these dragons. I don't know what it is, and I don't exactly need to know what it is. But I would say you keep following your instincts. And you keep your friends close. And I think you'll all be alright. It's okay, too, if you need to disappear from time to time. Take some time for yourself. I love my children, and I love the people of this town. But every once in a while, I need to get away. I go out in a boat, by myself, out to the middle of the lake, and nobody can bother me there. You find a place that works for you, and you get yourself whatever you need in the form of peace.
Thank you, Mimsy. To be honest, I had fully expected that my life would be more like, and she'll sort of motion around the kitchen and like the errant child who's been like sneaking in and grabbing a little tart off the table and kind of quirks her eyebrow like caught you but doesn't say anything. More like this. Life has funny twists and turns to it. I just don't want to take them down the wrong path.
As long as you're leading them, I don't think you will take them down the wrong path. And she kind of waits for one of the children to continue its very obvious attempt to sneak out, even though you're both watching. Waits until they leave the room and it's just the two of you in the kitchen. She leans forward and she says, "Nobody in this town knows this. And my children don't know this. But about 20 years ago, I too carried a sword at my side. And I traveled the land, seeking adventure. You wouldn't believe it to look at me. But I've crawled through a few dungeons in my time. I've killed a few monsters. and I might have a couple of extra special trinkets hidden away somewhere. And yet, 20 odd years later, I'm happily here as a town speaker in one of the 10 towns. I'm raising my family and looking after the families of Lonelywood. If that's something you want someday, you might still have it.
I very much appreciate that. And honestly, between the two of us, I'm not at all surprised. And she'll kind of like clink her teacup to Mimsey's and sort of take the big swig of hers, and then she's going to get up and chase after the child who's just about to head out of the room with their cookie and like scoop them up and just sort of like piggyback them onto her back, and she starts singing these very loud, playful songs with the children.
So you disappear, drown. This won't make sense to anybody, but can you make the required saving throw? Or attempt, I should say, roll the saving throw. We'll see if you can make it. I take that as a success.
22.
Then I will rule that as yes.
Okay, cool.
So it was easier to answer you verbally than try to type while talking. So at this point, it is a new day. You're all fed. You have as much time as you want. If there's things you individually want to do in terms of downtime activities, I would say Rolo and Fig, recognizing that you know what the rules are for the amount of time it takes you to be able to copy spells back and forth. If you want to swap a couple spells that you think you would have the time to do so in that time, you'll be able to do that. So this is kind of one of those times where we can take you all individually if you want to do. If there's anybody you want to talk to, if there's something you're looking for, or if you want to meet together and start to make plans. What do you all want to do? Is there anybody that has something that they want to look at while you're okay?
Is there a scrimshawer in town?
Absolutely,
Yes.
you met him.
All right.
Her, right?
The Scrimshaw.
It was a no bullshit.
Yeah,
woman.
she was real
Yep,
cranky.
it was a woman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
no nonsense.
Trying to find their name. Here we go. It was yes, it was Eriskri Harrowhill. She was a very no nonsense older woman.
So I want to kind of get the dragon horn from Fig's hat and take the essentially the horn to the scrimshawer and find out how much it would cost to be able to put sigils and whatnot carved into the horn itself.
So you head back to the Happy Scrimshander. Having met the proprietor, you now catch the irony of that name, as this Iriskri does not look like a Happy Scrimshander, unless she's taking your coin. But when you enter her shop and you place this horn on the counter before her, she actually sits up on the stool she's been sitting on and sets aside this one of several knucklehead trout that she had been working on some intricate detailing. Is this what I think it is?
Yes, this is one of the larger horns off of Aviatris.
I don't know what to be more impressed with. The fact that you're handing me the horn of a dragon, the fact that you're handing me the horn of Arviatris, or the fact that you so brazenly and matter-of-factly state as if it's normal for you to walk in here and place the horn of the great white worm in front of me.
I hope I didn't offend you.
Oh, it's no offense, sir.
And it was a group effort. It's not like I did it all myself.
So the rumors are true.
It's not the first dragon, and it's unless
See,
something
now
bad,
you're bragging.
it's not going to be the last.
Now you're boasting.
I am a dwarf.
Now you're just being obvious. So
I'm not certain how much of the Dawnbringers you've met or remember. But my friend Fig, the metal one, is eventually in the need of a new staff, and I would like to make this potentially be a staff for him. So I've got some notes, and I pull out some things that Fig and I had discussed, and I had kind of pulled out of Fig's memories from when the orb was floating my head. I kind of lay out what I think is some, celestial and arcane runes that would look cool and whatnot, and see what they think.
Thorgarn, I want you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
A wisdom saving throw. That's going to be an 18.
For a moment, as you place all of these designs and you're talking with Ariskri about what you want to do, you catch just somewhere in the back of your mind, you get this twinge of, keep it for yourself. But you're able to shake it off. You are... Okay, we'll go with this.
So when I hear that voice, there is the typical, he looks over his right shoulder and not seeing anyone there. Just is that pang.
Make an insight check.
That's a natural 20, so I think it's a 27.
So you do, as you said, you had that natural expectation of seeing Father Greffin, and then that pang as he's gone. But then there's a bit of a surprise as you see somebody else behind you. There's just enough of a spectral nature to their form that they're not physically there. It's a manifestation in the same way that Father Greffin was. But you also recognize this figure. Figure 3, Archimedes, whose Mind Stone you are still attuned to.
No,
you did not.
Oh.
I very specifically listened and made note when you were and didn't say anything.
Okay.
When you gave Fig back Fig's Mind Stone, that you did not return Archimedes.
Okay.
And I've been waiting and watching.
Sure.
So no, you.
That's I have no problem with it.
Nope.
I had thought I had.
So if you did turn off that attunement to the Archimedes Mind Stone, you can turn it back on. But it is Archimedes that you see standing there looking at you. And it was her voice that you heard. that said you should keep it for yourself. But you sort of pushed away from that, and but you do see her standing there.
So I will kind of turn back around and be like, okay, that's a conversation for later.
So put a pin in that. Ariskri just kind of looks over everything and look, I don't say this very often, and if you tell anybody I said it, I'll deny it. This is impressive. Looking over your drawings and everything that you've done, it's gonna take a bit of time.
I figured.
You mentioned wanting to give it to your wizard friend.
Yes.
Are you wanting this to be enchanted?
I was going to do that part myself.
Oh, good, because I don't do enchantments.
I've had a little bit of luck with that in the past, hoping that and I'll just kind of like point towards the amulet about my neck, hoping that Moradin will see that this is a worthy cause. It's a little bit further from home, shall we say. But
the work that you want done here, based on your designs, it looks like you're maintaining most of the horn's shape and size. Just adding in these runes and these few little bits here and this and that. And she's already making, she's taken a charcoal pencil and is making annotations, takes one or two things and says, well, that's not how this works at all. Crosses out one of the things you did. I don't know. Yep. I will make this a priority. It's not every day that I get to carve an ancient dragon's anything, but it's going to take me a couple of days.
Sure.
And while it is an extreme honor to be holding something so magnificent and be working on it, honor does not put food in my mouth.
Oh, I'm completely willing to pay. I was not asking this free of charge.
Well, that's good. I don't do anything free of charge.
So, what is your price?
She looks over it, and I am setting aside other important work. And you see, as she's looking at the knucklehead trout that she had been working on, which is one of about 30 knucklehead trout that are scrimshawed around the whole place. And, this means I won't be working on other projects. 250 gold. And she's just looking at you to gauge your reaction.
So I'll, go into my pouch and I'll pull out 250 gold and I'll plop it down on the table.
Up front. Then 250 when it's done.
Sure.
She reaches out and takes the pouch.
Ted, you gotta learn to haggle, man.
Why?
She said,
I've been sitting on 1,300 gold for
Ooh!
most of this game. So
she quickly sets it aside, and then you see her whole demeanor sort of changes, and she starts clearing off the whole thing, and she goes, well, I don't let people watch me work. That is not a hint. That is me telling you, leave. I will start to work on this now. And she's clearing off her workbench and putting this giant horn on there, already starting to lay out tools and get additional tools. And as you leave, she follows you to the door, and you'll notice that as you walk out, she places a closed sign on the door, and you hear the lock behind you. She's
and if Thorgarn had any ability to actually perceive things, he would hear the woohoo.
There's you could tell, even you could tell that she was very excited to have something like this to work on. I
imagine she was composing herself, but Thorgarn's pretty good at reading people, so I don't know how good her deception is, but I imagine he was picking up on some of her excitement.
Not great. Not in this particular instance. So Thorgarn has hired out Ariskri for the next couple days. What's some anybody else got something they want to pursue? Rollo.
At some point over the course of the day, Rollo's going to kind of wander over to Drown.
Mr. Drown, sir?
We do. When about? Just like after breakfast, sometime later in the day?
Probably like after breakfast, as everybody's kind of clearing away and going to do their own things and plates are vanishing. Rollo's going to kind of climb over because Rollo realized that Fig is going to need his spell book in order to copy spells into it. So Rollo returned Fig's spell book to him so he can copy the spells, and looking for something to do, scampers over to Drown.
Okay. All right. Just sort of randomly in the middle of the day, Drown is probably sitting somewhere near the lake, maybe on one of the docks, probably still frozen, but and is holding that scrimshawed knucklehead trout head bone that he bought that has the dagger hidden in it, and is just sort of like tracing his finger over the carvings on it, just kind of zoning out, staring over the lake.
Okay.
Mr. Drown, sir?
Kind of looks over and just sort of nods.
What you doing?
I am thinking.
Oh, thinking good. Rollo like to think. What you thinking about?
That is a good trait for a wizard. I understand much of your power comes from thinking.
Yes. It get Rollo into trouble sometimes, cause Rollo think too much, but Rollo not act on the think, act on impulse. Whatever right for the moment, because when you think, you get stuck in your head. So Rollo try to not think too far ahead. Rollo mostly think about what happened before.
That makes sense.
What do you think about?
It is difficult to explain. Lately, I have been thinking about the missing crew.
This is friends of yours?
I would not say that.
Oh.
Friends of some of the Dawnbringers, perhaps.
Oh.
I did not know them.
What were they crew of?
The ship that we sailed on, that Cantriel captained, the Evangeline.
Oh.
It was destroyed when the Great Worm took it.
Oh no. That's not good. And people are missing?
Yes, the crew, those that survive, are trapped in the dragon's lair. That is where we are going to go, into the glacier.
How we rescue them then?
That is the hope.
Can Rollo ask personal question?
Rollo can ask any question.
And she kind of reaches up and pokes at one of the tattoos.
Your tattoos.
Yes.
They glow. They do things.
When I use my magic, yes.
Where'd they come from?
So he gets quiet, and the quiet probably stretches for about 30 seconds, and he just kind of 1,000-yard stairs a little bit. I gave some of them to myself. Others, where I could not see well or reach, a friend of mine helped. They are a mark of what I am. And they cover other markings, which are what I was, but am no longer and can never be again.
What are you?
He smiles and says, devoured.
But you're right here. Is Rollo in stomach?
No, I do not think so.
Okay.
Jake, refresh me. When we had our little visions and we saw snippets from pasts, we all saw those, right? So
Yep.
Did everybody see Drown's thing where he was stabbed in the chest with an obsidian knife and then pitched off a cliff?
Yep.
Sorry, I cut out there for a second.
Yes.
I assume you said yes?
Yes.
All right, good. Was Rollo present for that? I don't think so.
That was back
pre-Rollo?
during during the Nightfang Spire.
Right.
And this
No, it was in the Chartland Berserker cave, I think.
Oh wait. Yes, I forgot.
We camped in there, and we all got visitations from Oriel and saw weird things.
Those were private visions, I believe.
Okay, all right. So those weren't shared with anyone. All right. So he kind of furrows his brow a little bit and says, "It is difficult to remember. It is like a vague dream that has already begun to fade." I was punished by my tribe and cast away. It is a punishment reserved for the most heinous and grievous of blasphemies. In many generations, it had never been used. And I think, to their detriment, my tribe had forgotten why they weren't supposed to use it. They cast me from the mountain where we live into the ocean. My people...
You from mountain?
Yes. Yes, from across the sea. My people fear the ocean because it is endless and hungry and can never be satiated. The mountain is everything it is not. It is solid, barely changes. When they cast me into the sea, they threw my name. Everything I was and everything that I might be in to be devoured. And then they cast me in behind it to be devoured. But there was something waiting there, something that I don't think we understand anymore. It is a thing that they speak of in fear, and never openly and never within sight of the water.
Oh.
Oh no! Okay.
The word for it in Giant is Kalagaros. Closest word in
Dan's
common
connection, don't you dare drop
that
out.
I have found for it is oh nope.
Wait,
Fantastic.
You're still here.
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. This is annoying as shit. Wait, what was the last you heard?
We heard the name in
Name in common is, the closest word in
Got
common is.
The closest word I have found to it in the common tongue is fathomless, impossible to understand, deep beyond depth. It is the crushing blackness, the thick cold in the depths of the ocean. And it is alive.
Does it hurt you?
I thought he was being
That is
really
difficult to answer.
Rolo was kicked out of her home too. Most kobolds don't like kobolds with wings. We considered bad. And so when Rolo was little bitty, they kick her out. And it was only because she got found by people who took care of her that Rolo still here. But Rolo blowed them up. That's why I work so hard to not blow friends up anymore. 'Cause when you find friends, they help you. Rolo wants to be your friend, Drown.
You are my friend.
Whatever you need, you just tell Rolo and Rolo help.
I will not forget.
Okay. Is it okay if Rolo sit with you for a while?
I would like that.
Okay.
And she kind of crawls over and climbs up him and sits on his shoulder and just kind of pets the back of his head.
And as we head into our break, I have this image that I need anybody who can draw. I am picturing you see this looking down this dock, and here's this massive tattooed Goliath you see from behind, kind of just sitting there looking out over the lake. And there's this tiny winged kobold sitting on his shoulder, and it is the most adorable thing I can picture right now. I just absolutely love it. So that is, as I said, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We're a couple minutes past our normal break time. So we're going to take about 10 minutes. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in so far. Please stick around. We will be back in 10 minutes or so. See you on the other side.
Push the button.
And
Push
we're back.
that button. Oh, hi.
Button. It sounded like you said
Push
touch
the
the
button.
butt.
Elevator
Push
go
the
out
butt.
the hole.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you actually pushed the button.
I said I was pushing the button.
I thought you said you were gonna push the button.
Let's be fair. We automatically assume it's an empty threat when you say we're starting, so we don't stop what we're doing.
Well, that's what this is. So, we are back. Oh, I do owe you a domain die. Thank you to Fist of Onin for that subscription, that resub, 3 months. Thank you so much. I put a link in here earlier. I'm going to drop it one more time. I forgot to mention at the beginning that we do have membership tiers over on coffee.com. I just put a link in the chat. And if you do support through the coffee link, those also do count as rewards for the domain dice, whether it's a one-off or you become a member at the one of the various levels. Adventurer, Hero, Explorer, Adventurer, Hero, and Legend are the 4 membership levels. All right. We left off with Drown and Rolo strengthening their friendship bond and relaxing at the dock of the bay in Lonelywood here. Who else would like to peruse or pursue rather something? Does anybody else want to pursue anything? Fig? Talmud?
Could be as simple as after X days when the wizards are done trading spells, then we can.
Yep. So
I mean, if y'all don't mind, I would love to have a conversation with Fig.
go for
By
it.
all means.
Okay, awesome. Rolo will at some point after maybe a day or two after hanging out on the dock with Drown, Rolo's going to go find Fig, and she kind of creeps in and stares at Fig for a minute, and then creeps forward and creeps forward and creeps forward until she's like right up at Fig's feet.
Hi, Fig.
I imagine Fig is with Hermes, just kind of doing like tests with like arms and legs and stuff. And when you say that, I think Hermes jumps and runs away, but Fig very calmly turns.
Point of
Hello,
order, you
Rolo.
also have a simulacrum that is with you.
Yeah, he's hanging out. Fig Fig's not ready to for him yet. He's still fascinated by Hermes, so
Mr. Fixer, do you have a minute?
of course. You chased away my subject, so I have all the time.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Your subject scares easily. Rolo
He
is
is
tiny.
he is prone to running, yes.
Rolo has a question for you. Cause Rolo never got to meet you before the big fight where you got fallen apart. Did you help fight the dragon?
Yes. I have fought a few dragons with these group. It seems to be their favorite pastime is a word that I used, that I learned. Pastime.
Were you scared?
No. There have only been 3 times that I have been scared.
What were they?
Well, the one was when Talmud was falling from the ship, when my sister dropped him.
Oh, you have sister.
Yes, she is not very nice.
Oh, Rolo should keep eye out for her then.
Yes, she. And then I think Fig kind of stops, realizing that he doesn't have her voice in his head anymore. Oh dear. I have misplaced her. And he almost like begins to like look around as if he like dropped her.
Uh-oh. You keep her with you?
Yes, I had to. She wasn't very nice, and I thought that I could show her kindness, and then she would turn nice.
All right, so this is an amusing time to break in. So Thorgarn comes knocking at Fig's door as well.
Oh, someone here. Should I hide? Do you want privacy? Should I leave?
You're more than willing to. You're more than able to stay unless Fig has an issue with it. I realized that after we kind of put your head back together and never actually returned your sister. I didn't expect her to kind of appear in my head or in my thoughts the way other things have. Do you want this back? I'll hold up the stone.
Has she spoken with you?
There was a little bit here and there, but you know how we kind of talked about that staff idea after the devastating disaster of the Chardelin? Well, I started working on that, and your sister tried to convince me to keep it for myself as opposed to having it made for you. I don't know why I would want a staff. It's not really my thing.
In my experience, she has never learned to share.
So she makes me a little bit quicker, but it also comes with the side effect of her in my head. I'm cool with holding on to it or giving it back as you see fit. After all, it is your family.
If it is more advantageous for you to keep her, then you may. She may learn a good lesson from you. You would be a great mentor. But just be careful. She is
Tricky.
manipulative.
Well, that's going to be lots of fun. We'll see how that plays out. Just you guys know me pretty well. Anything seems out of sorts, just give me a poke.
Rolla will climb up you and grab your eyelids. It is hard to not notice that.
Eyelids are a bit rough. I mean, you could always,
Eyebrows?
Eyebrows, ears. Just be careful.
Okay.
Just be
You
careful.
have good bushy eyebrows. I go for those.
Sure. Just be careful with the beard.
Oh no, I grab on the eyebrows and feet cling into the beard. It won't tear anything out. It just stabilizes me so I don't rip eyebrows off.
You like violence, don't you?
Every morning I wake up and choose violence. But in the most loving way.
Loving violence. Is that what happens in the Kobold Warrens?
Pretty much, yes. It's brutal down there. I've seen things.
Well, if you ever feel the need to talk about it, we're all here for you.
Thank you, Thorgarn.
Thorgarn, over your shoulder, you hear the voice of Archimedes. I like this weird cat.
Yeah, we like her too. So I don't even turn and acknowledge her, but I'll say it just completely out loud. So I've got like I said, I've got things started with the staff. We'll see how things go. Do you have the ruby that you wanted as part of the staff, Fig?
Yes, I believe I do. Fig's gonna reach deep into his hat and rummage through and find some of the just some of the treasure that they had.
And your favorite metal is copper, right?
Yes.
So I figured I don't know if this is apropos to you or not, but a good butt end for slamming it down to get some attention would be good. So I think if we kind of capped it in steel and then covered that in copper and have some copper adornments up through it to kind of seal it all together, and then maybe a copper hand, kind of stylized like your Figby's hand, holding the ruby.
Can you make it pink?
Can I make what pink? The metal?
Yes.
I would have to experiment with that. I've not done a whole lot of pigmentation on metals yet. But it's certainly something.
I would like it to match my coat. And his coat is like a frightening shade of green. So you have no idea how that matches.
I don't. When it comes to, you don't ask questions.
I love everything about that.
All right, so and we don't need to do this part, but I'll leave the wizards to their conversation, and I'm going to go over to the smith, and I'm going to talk to them and find out if there's anything that they do in regards to trying to change pigmentations of metals. Because this is something Ted doesn't know how to do, so I wouldn't know how to correlate that into a magical wizarding world.
Mr. Fig, you were saying?
Yes, I would rather talk about how you are fitting with the group. Do you like them?
Roller liked them very much. They're very kind to Roller. They teach Roller that you don't eat scraps. You get full meal. They fill Roller's belly and Roller's heart.
That is very nice to hear. Surprisingly, they have done the same for me. I have learned what it feels like. Sorry.
Are you okay? You learned what it feels like?
I have learned what emotions feel like and what is considered good and bad, though sometimes that is still confusing.
It's confusing for Rollo too sometimes. Lines are weird. They should zigzag. They should go curvy. But sometimes they go straight. And knowing whether they're supposed to be curvy or straight is hard.
I understood that, and I agree.
Did it hurt when the bad thing happened to you and you broke?
I do not feel pain the same way, I think, as you do. I felt, but I did feel an emptiness. I did feel fear. I was afraid that I never would be put back together again.
Thorgarn worked very hard to make sure he had the pieces, and he had you. He was very worried.
I am grateful that everyone was there to make sure that I was put together again.
They are a good group. We are lucky.
Yes, we are lucky.
So what you doing?
As soon as you ask that, Fig kind of like lights up and he just goes into talking about how he's trying to teach Hermes the emotion of happiness today, and that's what he's doing, which he says has been quite difficult, but he has been he explains to you how I have been showing Hermes things that bring me joy and happiness to gauge his reaction. I have discovered that he likes dogs.
Ah, do you think he likes Snowy Owlbear? Professor!
And in a explosion of snow, as if something were diving through a snowbank, this snowy owlbear shows up. I don't know what they sound like.
It's sort of a.
There you go.
There's that. It sort of ruffles its feathers and does sort of a shake. And even though it just appeared out of nowhere, it sort of shakes some of the snow out of its fur. And is now standing there.
Then Rollo yells, Luigi! And this little snow ferret comes popping out from under the arm of Professor Alfred, and it kind of stands there like this. I'm assuming I still have the ferret. I don't know.
Actually, you weren't here for that one.
Yeah, I just realized that. I may not have.
When the wizard that was possessing you left, the familiar also vanished.
Oh, sad. Okay. Well, in that case, then, Luigi! And from Rollo's pouch, a teeny tiny field mouse scampers up his chest, or her chest. Yeah, wait, her chest, and perches on her shoulder and just kind of perks up like that.
Professor Alfred and Luigi bring Rollo joy. Maybe they bring your friend joy?
I also have a friend, an old friend that I have not seen in a while, but you reminded me. And Fig brings out this ugly brown rat out of his hat. This is Brown Gnaw. I found him early when I first met. And yeah, he's very excited. He doesn't have facial expressions, but he's just like so excited to be able to show
little
like a
whiskers
fellow
are twitching.
wizard. Yeah.
Gotta remember, you've got the things that you can change.
That's right. He puts on a smile. There we go. He puts on a wide grin. That's right. I forgot. Thank you.
And Rollo will hang out with Fig and watch the experiments and just kind of wizard it up.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure many things go awry, and there ends up being many different colors around the village.
Yeah.
At some point.
There's probably a couple explosions, but no one is hurt. No buildings are damaged.
I picture a wide shot of the village of Lonelywood, and just every once in a while, one of the houses kind of goes, and it's in this weird shade of purple and yellow, and then there might be just suddenly just this little, and a single cloud of smoke rises up from the ramshackle inn, from one of the windows.
You see like this little mushroom cloud come up at one point and then suck right back down.
At some point, though, I do think that Hermes, you hear that as Hermes runs past the door, there's just that, and as soon as he passes the door, you'd hear as he takes a few steps backwards and turns and looks in the room and sees all of these critters, and he looks at Professor Alfred, and with his head still locked, his whole body just goes, and he rushes up and kind of looks at the owlbear and looks at you, Rollo, and looks at the owlbear, looks at you, and then sort of leans back, looking at Fig, and then says, in Fig's voice, "May I pet him?"
Oh, yes, he very friendly. This is friend, Professor Alfred.
I am going to pet him with my whole body. and he wraps his arms around the neck of Professor Alfred.
And Professor Alfred just kind of goes and kind of snuggles into it.
We cut to elsewhere, perhaps later that day or the next day, as everybody's doing their various tasks. And Thorgarn, where might one find you around Lonelywood?
So Thorgarn is.
I'm sorry, I did it. I meant Talmud. Damn it. That one went straight through without a catch. It wasn't until you spoke. I'm like, oh shit. Sorry, Ted. That was meant for Talmud.
Sorry. Where would I be by myself?
Yeah, where would you be? Well, yeah.
So I think there's something going on outside. Maybe one of the effects of the spell slinging that's going on between the two wizards or something. And Talmud has snuck his way back into the inn, into the kitchen, to grab yet another handful of tarts. And he's kind of like making sure that nobody's watching as he's like stacking a bunch of them into like a cloth napkin.
As you do so, you turn around and you've got that sort of slight hunch. You've got one halfway to your mouth, and there's Ravo standing there looking at you.
Oh,
he just kind of goes,
hi.
Hi, Talmud, sir.
No,
if you're not
no.
too busy, can I talk to you?
Certainly, but whatever you do, you're going to have to stop calling me sir. That just won't stand.
Yes, sir. I mean, yes.
Talmud or Thorgarn. Sometimes people get us confused, and that's fine too.
That's all right. People forget my name all the time. And he sort of reaches over to where you've left maybe, I imagine, one or two of the tarts, just so it's not an empty plate. And he kind of takes one, and he doesn't take a bite, though. He just sort of kind of is nervously picking away at it, breaking it apart. I was hoping I could just talk to you, men to men.
All right, I think I might know where this is going, but don't waste that, lad. If you're going to take it, you might as well eat it.
Yes, they are good. Nimsy makes the best cookies in all of 10 towns.
It's really the best, with a wee nip of this. And he pulls out like a flask, like a small bottle that has the Kirgan in it. Just a little.
He takes and throws the flask back in a way that you know he is no stranger to. I mean, you all met him at the Lucky Liar at the tavern, but also he doesn't make a face, nor does he have any adverse reaction when he drinks the Kirgan. Well, I know Yesha has told you that she plans to stay here in Lonelywood. And she, as I understand it, is going to be managing the inn here while you are off doing adventurous things. And, well, Yesha and I have been spending a lot of time together, and, well, I was just wanting to know if it was okay if we continue to hang out together, and if you mind if I kind of love her. And then he shoves the rest of the tart into his mouth.
Well, Talmud kind of feels like the temperature kind of like rising in the sides of his face, but he's trying to do what he can to kind of keep it in check. It's not my place to give that kind of permission, for one. Yesha's her own woman. She always has been, for as long as I've known her, at least. And though I've taken a shine to her, it doesn't make me her dad. So, as long as she's happy with you, and you promise that you're going to take good care of her, and you do and genuinely love her, then of course I'm okay with it, lad.
There's this tense moment where he can see the redness rising in your cheeks, and I imagine the tip of your ears are quite red for a moment, and his eyes get a little wide. But as you speak, he sort of calms down, and you can see him visibly relax a bit. And you do understand, Talmud, that Yesha thinks of you like a father. And she understands that you're not really her father. But we've talked a lot about it, and she thinks of you very much so like a father. And the rest of the Dawnbringers, she thinks of as family as well. She told me what everyone did for her. And well, we've talked a lot about this stuff, and I just think it's important that you know that. And I thank you for your blessing, I guess, but I want you to understand. And he kind of looks around. I do love Yesha, but I know it's new, and we've only known each other barely more than a week. But I don't plan on going anywhere. And if she's staying in Lonely Wood, my plan is to stay here with her, help her run this place. And whatever help she needs, I will be there. But I also know that she is a very strong and independent woman. And I hope only that I can earn her love and give her what she deserves and compliment the person that she is. But I just wanted to talk to you first, because I know how much she values you, all of you.
There's kind of a moment where Talmud has a little bit of the tart that's kind of stuck in his throat. He has to kind of like make like an audible like swallow to get the lump to go down. Well, she's very special for a lot of reasons, but I suspect that you know most of them by now. And if this is your home and she's wanting to call it her home as well, then I wish you all the best.
Can you do me one favor?
Certainly.
When you find time, come back and visit. For Yesha.
Without a doubt.
And for all of us.
I would love to. It's actually a really nice place whenever there's not, the impending doom of an eternal night hanging over the place.
It is quite nice to see the sun, and it makes it easier to do a lot of things, and people don't seem to be as grumpy, and well, there's no more need to offer sacrifices to Ariel for fear that she will strike us down. Because you have struck her down.
Hopefully the days of fear for Icewind Dale are over. But
I
that
hope so.
does lead me to the last point that I want to make. And there's probably not any real reason to have to say it, but if you ever do hurt her, then you'll know what fear really means, lad. I promise. So just keep it in the back of your mind.
And you see that you've instantly made his face go just a tad bit paler. And he just goes, right, well, I think yes, she wanted me to bring in some more wood. I've got to go. And as he turns to leave, he just kind of glances back, and then you see as he goes to leave the room, he just says, excuse me, as he passes by Cantriel, who has, for you don't know how long Cantriel's been there, but Cantriel's standing at the door to the kitchen where you are.
So
There's some tarts in here that were they were going to fall on the floor, so I was gathering them together.
oh, well, of course, to save the tarts for the sake of all mankind.
Precisely. We're on the same.
Mhm. Seems that Yesha's found herself someone.
Aye. It would seem so. And I'm happy for her, honestly. She seems like it's going to work out really well, you know.
I like him.
Oh yeah, he's a good lad.
Mm-hmm. By the way, want to help me with a door?
A door, another one.
I've just been thinking, with all the talk of the Dawnbringers and everything we've been through, it all started with a door for us. The tavern door.
Aye. He kind of like raises an eyebrow, cocks his head to the side. I'm not very quick, Cantriel. I don't know if you've noticed.
No, I
or
know.
Not, so I...
We've been through hell and high water, quite literally together.
Too much high water.
And with everything that just happened with Vi, and knowing what she was to both of us, I thought maybe I should check in with my fellow original Dawnbringers.
You mean Griff?
No, you.
Oh, me. I mean, I'm fine. Look, I've got Torts, I've got Kiergan, I've got, Yesha's in the other room. I've got, all of you are here. It's honestly better than it has been in a long time.
Fair enough.
Now, how are you dealing with the loss of Vi?
That wasn't Vi. Not the Vi I said goodbye to at Oakhurst.
I would have to agree. That's the piece that I made with it.
Kind of had to. The fact she had steered directly right back into what Caleb had become.
It's a cruel fate to meet, that's for sure. It's no small amount of irony in it.
No.
But whatever piece she didn't know, she does now.
God, I hope so.
Me too.
I wanted to talk to you first before I told the others, but Drown helped me do another dream hop. No, there are not other little victors flying around as a result.
Whatever you do in your own time is your business, Triel.
I actually saw Madam.
From the
She and
crew.
some of the shipmates, yeah, made it through, mostly.
So they're alive then.
Some are alive, from what I could tell from the dream. And so's the Evangeline. Or so is Evangeline.
Wait. The ship was torn in half. We saw half of it.
Right, but there's more to the ship than we knew about. Far more than I even realized about the ship. Apparently, in getting torn apart and everything they went through with Arviatris, the ship is a living being. Evangeline. And we need to do something. We need to find them to see if we can help them. Especially Evangeline.
Well, we're headed that direction, aren't we? To the dragon's cave.
Yes and no.
What do you mean?
Well, the crew was at the cave, but what I saw in my dream was my homeland. It was the Feywild.
So you're saying that we're going to have to go to this Feywild place?
I'm thinking there might be something along those lines, yes. But before springing this little factor on the others, I wanted to talk with you first to see if you would be all right with it.
I mean, it's no secret that my people and elves don't tend to get along a lot. We've certainly had our differences in the past, but I would like to think at least that we've made it past the worst of that. And
oh, absolutely.
If that's where we need to go, then I'll go there with you.
Thank you, Talmud.
Of course.
I will talk with the others about it, but this whole being the leader thing is sort of an oddity for me.
Really? He says with like genuine surprise and shock.
Look, I know I can come off really bossy and insistent.
Yeah, no, you're just
I'm an elf.
An elf.
Mm.
You're very direct. You know what you want, and not much gets in the way of that.
Look, this is just my way of saying it's we've been through this the longest. I didn't want you to think I was making decisions without talking with you first about it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Triel. But it should also be said that I trust you. You've been there through, as you said, the thick and the thin, and I'm sure that we'll go through it again. But every time that I've fallen, you're the first one there. So we'll make it through.
All right. Well, you missed one, and she'll pull a tart out from behind her back. And I'll go talk with the others now that I know that you're on board. Well, not like the ship on board, I mean.
Right. We don't have to sail to get there, do we?
I
hope not. He starts like stress eating the tarts.
We'll do our best to avoid it, but at some point we need to rescue some semblance of a ship, whether it's a ship or a creature or something. Not quite sure how this works.
Yeah, me either. Oh, but I'm sure we'll be fine. This is fine.
There's just one other thing. Time can get a little strange there. So I'm not saying make your peace. I'm just saying make sure you speak to everyone you want to before we go.
All right. Thank you for that. I'll certainly try to make sure that I do.
All right. By the way, make sure you practice walking in step just in case when we get back, someone's ready to walk down the aisle, and she'll turn on her heel and she walks out of the room.
Thorgarn, and this time I do mean Thorgarn.
I was like, all right, I'm
I
waiting.
know everybody's hesitating. Wait, who is he talking to? It's late afternoon on the next day when yep, I knew I was gonna lose her name. Iriskir, I think was her name. Iriskri finds you wherever you may be, probably around the inn somewhere. Finds you and has a very large and obvious bundle wrapped up in. It's wrapped in cloth and tied with twine. And seeks you out directly, kind of cradling it in two arms. Right. It's done.
So I would, basically just, unwrap it and look at it, see if it, meets the exact specifications that I had in the drawing, see how everything comes, and inspect it like it's wares.
You can tell, looking at this, you already knew that Iriskri Harrow Hill was a skilled scrimshander based on the work. You get the sense, looking at this, that her talents are wasted on knucklehead trout. This staff, this horn, as you requested it, is to the millimeter matches your drawings. Every rune exactly how you had laid it out, with the couple of modifications she had made to your plans just to allow for the things to be placed in there. And you can see where there's clearances and allowances for additions you want to make to it, and that it has been subtly shaped in a way that it maintains its original shape as the dragon horn, but also you can already see the staff in it now. This is expert. This is what would be called masterwork level crafting.
Excellent. So there was like a little bit left over. I imagine it was longer than the staff length than Fig would have wanted. And so any extra, if it's not there, I don't bring anything up. If it's there,
it is. She would have put any of the bigger pieces that she cut off. She would have included in the package.
So I hand her 300 gold, and I say that if you wish to keep, I'll give her the big piece as well.
She takes the gold without question. Maybe you catch a slightly cocked eyebrow at the extra weight of the gold as she quickly and deftly slides it into an inner pocket and then looks at you unsure when you hand her the leftover offcuts.
No, I'm serious. This is immaculate. I don't think I know I've never seen anyone be able to carve bone like this. This is essential to do the next step. I sincerely appreciate it, and I'm certain that Fig will love it.
I don't say this to anyone ever. And if you tell anyone I said it, I'll deny it. Thank you. And she turns and leaves before you can change your mind.
And giddy, I would go seek out Fig and make sure that they are as pleased as I am.
I'm sure that Fig, as soon as he sees it, would kind of fawn over the carvings and the especially the arcane runes that he is like the most familiar with in there, and look at it, and and just, as long as you'd let him just kind of excitedly talk about it.
Oh.
Even though you're the person who created it, he's just like excitedly telling you about the things that you probably already know.
Well, as you're well aware, you know that anytime someone starts talking about magic-y stuff, Thorgarn just kind of glasses over and seems to be enjoying himself, whether you know or not know. It's something that he's always done. But so he will start talking to you about what I found out. Well, I Googled what you could do to change the color of metals, and there are certain acids and what have you that can be done, and so the next steps can be done to change copper into pink if you need so. So I don't know how long we want to hang around and go through the next step, or whether we're off, but when we have time, whether it be in Fig's fabulous fortress or on the road in the next town, I'm certain we'll find something eventually, but in steps. And you can tell I'm just as excited about the process as you are.
So I'll say at this point, 2 full days have gone by. You're on the 3rd day. Another dawn brings. Another dawn breaks. Drown, you are up before the sun. You can just see those first twinges of a thin line of orange, with most of the sky in brilliant violets, and transitioning up into the last few stars that remain. And when you get to the end of the dock, you see that there is already a hole in the ice where you normally break through. There's a thin coating, and as you stand at the end of the dock and look down, that very thin sheet of the surface ice that has started to ice over already, you see something moving underneath, coming up quickly towards the ice. You see a flash of what looks like something light colored, and then, not quickly, not in a sudden burst, but just sort of gently pushing through the ice so that it falls away and the water is cascading down her fur, you see Oya Mintarok rising up out of the hole in the ice, and suddenly looking up at you. Well, hello there, old friend.
It is a welcome surprise to see you.
And a welcome surprise to see you as well.
The other Dawnbringers and I had discussed trying to find you to see if we might ask some of your experience and knowledge. Would you like to come up?
She reaches a massive bare hand, polar bear hand towards you.
Grabs it, locks hands,
and you're able to. She's doing most of the work, but she pulls up, stands up onto the dock, and just gives a full body shake, shaking all of the water out of the fur. Well, if I'm being honest, it is not an accident that I am here today. I've been making my way from town to town since the sun rose several days ago, checking in on things and people. And in particular at Bryn Shander, and to the south at Dugan's Hole. I heard the Dawnbringer's name being mentioned. You should know that though there was much damage, the people of Dugan's Hole are repairing and are very grateful for what you have done. And the same can be said for the people you have met, the townspeople at Bryn Shander. No, not Bremen. At Bryn Shander. And I figured I would make my way here to Lonelywood in the hopes of running into you before you took off on your next adventure. Luck favors us, it seems.
You have come at the right time. I am pleased to hear that townsfolk of Dugan's Hole are surviving.
It will take them some time to repair the damage that was done, but they are no strangers to hard work.
The remains of the construct that we slew are dangerous, and they are at the bottom of the creek there. We had hoped to ask you if you knew of any places that are touched by magical essence, perhaps from another plane. I have an affinity to creatures of water. If there are any connections to the plane of water, that could be ideal.
I must confess that I do not know of any connections to the plane of water here in Icewind Dale, though I can keep an eye out. You are worried about the Chardolin.
Yes. We have learned that it absorbs magic very well, and most of the magic that it absorbs is corruptive. If we can bring the remains of the dragon to a place with a less poisonous form of magic, we could perhaps fill it with that instead. So it would not harm any who came into contact with it.
That is a noble but not small task.
If you know of no such place, then it is futile, and we will perhaps have to reduce it to dust.
There may be something that we can do. Your fear is that in such a small body of water, that it might become a corruption.
It may poison the water. It may be found by others. Even carrying a splinter of it can do terrible things and be a great danger.
The Chardolin has been a part of Icewind Dale for for over 100 years. It has been causing its problems. I believe that it was because of Frostmaiden's influence that it could become so much more of a problem in the last 2 years. But you are right to worry. It is in Loch-Dinishir now.
What is?
The remains of the dragon.
Ah, yes.
Or no, sorry, not Loch-Dinishir. The Redwaters.
Yes.
I will take on this task. I believe that working with the... And she kind of raises her paws up and does a sort of what you can only assume is meant to be air quotes. The monster of Mare Dwalden. I believe we can safeguard it deep in the bottom of the middle of this lake. I have
So
come
long
to
as
know
its
this
influence-
monster.
So long as the Charlatan's influence remains close to it, that should be safe enough.
I will take care of this. And we will move it there for now.
Very
And
well.
I will begin talking to others, to the wise people around Icewind Dale. I will bring it to the town speakers. And we will find a way to deal with this. This does not need to be your burden.
That is good. Would you like to speak to the others?
I would love to speak with the others. I would love to see everybody again.
Then follow me. And you'll just kind of turn and start tromping down the dock toward the shore, up to the house.
And so eventually another breakfast is had, this time finding another guest at the table. However, Drown, when you lead Oya Mintarok to the inn to meet everybody, the large polar bear, werebear, stands at the bottom of the steps to the porch. Her size, clearly not able to move through the door. You watch as she begins to seem to almost grow thinner before you. And you watch the polar bear hair receding. And as she is changing, she adjusts some of the robes and cloak that are kind of tied around her waist and sort of pulls them up. And standing before you is she is in her Goliath form now.
We didn't know that she's a Goliath, right?
Nope.
Right.
So when she changes
Drown's
into her humanoid
eyes will
form, it is a
widen
Goliath.
just a little bit.
Yeah. I would say she matches you for height. She has a little bit more of a slender build. And she has less tattoos than you do. But she is a Goliath. And she climbs the steps to stand next to you and says, with a much less but still deep voice, I thought this would be more appropriate and less damaging to the structure.
It would be difficult to fit through the door frame, as you were. That is true. Come inside.
And we cut to the inside where everybody is once again everybody I imagine slipped into this nice morning routine of helping to lay things out and breakfast for those of you that occupy in the inn, and Ravos and Yesha and Nimsy Huddle was there on that first day, but the last couple days she comes in, stops by periodically, but she's not there this morning. And the rest of you see Drown walking in with a Goliath woman that you have never seen before.
We have a guest.
Well, I was muted. Hello, guest.
We have questions.
Found yourself a friend there, did you, Drown?
You would not recognize her. This is Oyamin Artok.
I am an Artak.
Oh.
Yes, we have met, with the exception of you, she says to Rolo.
Hello, I'm Rolo.
Nice to meet you, Rolo. This is a form that I take when I am amongst civilized company, and especially indoors.
That makes sense.
Normally, she's a lot taller.
Oh. Wait, I'm not taller than she already is?
Yes.
Oh, you're
Mostly
very
wider.
impressive.
Well, it is good to see you all again. And from what I've heard from around Icewind Dale and Ten Towns, the Dawnbringers legend continues to grow. And it sounds like you've got more adventures ahead of you. And I think that's where we're going to end this session. We're coming up on our time when we normally end, and I think this is one of those nice, especially when you have a lot of moving from fight to fight to fight, and that 3-month-long day that we endured a while back. In record time, in the last few sessions, you all have made it through days and days and days. So when we return next week, you will be able to, in our next session, you will be able to talk with Oyam Interrock and make any plans you might have. And then if there's anything anybody wants to do, wrap up any special preparations, if you want to DM me, go ahead and do that. I'm not, by any means, I'm not rushing any scenes forward. But yeah, that's where we've left off, and we'll pick up with here when we return. I said next week, but you never know, so I'll say next session. But yeah, things once again, we are rapidly closing in on the end of this season with this, and I will just say it sounds very much like we are within 1 or 2, 3 at most sessions of the end of season 5, Rime of the Frostmaiden. And so be sure to tune in next Thursday and every Thursday when we're streaming, so that you can continue to enjoy the adventures of the Dawnbringers. If I've noticed we've had quite a few new people stopping by. Welcome, new followers, new members to the domain. And if you want to catch up, all of the Dawnbringers adventures by season are on youtube.com/mini-terrain domain. Also be sure to tune in on Monday nights to catch our other campaign adventure, Scribes and Scrolls, the Candlekeep mysteries that I run for another group of players that are now level 3 we are making our way through the Candlekeep Mysteries book, tying it together with our own unique adventure. Just a wonderful cast of characters with our friends Gary and Dwight and Ricky and Carrie and D&D Jordan Lee. So check that out. You can also catch me and M every other Tuesday over on Dice on Ice RPG, where we're playing Curse of Strahd, and my character continues to make bad decisions. We just had a session this week, so in 2 weeks you'll be able to catch us over there. Once a month you can catch Ted V and I on Nerdarchy Live, where Ted is our DM for Untraditionally Arcane. A wonderful game where we are all playing untraditional wizards. I play Ordo Wonderbeard, the Beardomancer. And we have a blast over there. We've got a great group of people as well, with Frag and Asa and Robin and myself and V. With this wonderful adventure Ted is taking us on. We'll have an official announcement soon. 2 announcements. I mentioned at the top of the stream, but we got a few more people here with us, so I'm going to say it again. We've had Goblin Katie with us all summer long as Rolo, who joined us when M was gone pursuing real-world adventures. We decided that we didn't want to kick Rolo and Goblin Katie out at the end of this season, and we have extended the invite, and Goblin Katie and Rolo have accepted to stay on with the Dawnbringers going forward. So we welcome Goblin Katie and Rolo to this adventuring party, and we will be very excited to have you with us in the next season and beyond. The other announcement is that I think he left already. Neophet was with us in the chat. But coming up next month on every other Wednesday night will be a new adventure. Mini Terrain Domain presents Legends of Saltmarsh by Neophet. It is a limited series that Jay is going to be running here on the channel. He's got his players gathered together, and they are going to be start broadcasting in November on every other Wednesday night. It might be Tuesdays. I'll have to double check that. Like I said, we'll have an official announcement coming up, but that is going to be a fun adventure because he is playing another version of Saltmarsh with an offline group, I believe. Or no, he's running it on his channel. I don't remember how it's working exactly, but the two are 100 years apart, and the two campaigns are influencing each other. Which is very cool and ambitious. So check that out. Lots of great stuff going on. Of course, check everybody out on their channels and their social medias, because everybody here does some awesome stuff. You, chat, have been awesome tonight. Thank you for your bits and your support. The amazing patron of the domain dice, Joey P. We thank you for blessing us. We were in a scene. I didn't want to interrupt it, but Joey P has dropped another 20 domain dice, which is why you are all at 168 domain dice. It's almost as if you are being buffed up for some big encounter that might be coming up. So we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody who has been joining us tonight. And if you are one of those people that enjoy lurking in the background, just listening and not participating in chat, we appreciate you all the same. Don't feel the need to come out of the shadows unless you want to, but we appreciate you hanging with us. And of course, as always, a huge thank you to these amazing players. Tonight was one of those occasional sessions that I love to have, where we roll very few dice and we just get to explore the characters and have some downtime. And these players just drove that. You saw it. So thank you, as always, to V, Dan, M, Ted, Jeremy, and Katie, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for 3 hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
That's a big bear.
Hearts.